Welcome to On the Frontline, the Military Rec Show, hosted by John Prue, where we spotlight the people, programs, and purpose driving military recreation around the world. In today's episode, we're joined by Katie Prestesater, Installation Program Director at Naval Air Station Whiting Field. From beginning her journey as an intern at Naval Station Great Lakes to leading nationally award-winning programs in Navy MWR, Katie shares the experiences, leadership lessons, and passion that continue to shape her career. We dive into building resilient teams, creating meaningful experiences for military families, and how innovation, creativity, and transparency are helping redefine recreation across military installations. This is On the Frontline, powered by the DPRS Media Network. Let's dive in.
All right, it is 13:30 on Tuesday, 24 March 2026, and you are on the front line. My name is John Prue. As the host of this weekly podcast focused on armed forces or military recreation, we talk to professionals in the industry who in some way are making a difference in the quality of life of our military and their families. Now, out there, you might be a MWR professional or morale, welfare, and recreation professional who directly supports quality of life for our military and families each and every day. We thank you. Maybe you are or have been in the military and a user of MWR programs and services at some point. And again, we thank you for your service. Perhaps you're a business or organization which directly supports or wants to support armed forces recreation professionals around the globe. You might be a public parks and recreation professional curious about that thing called military recreation or MWR and what it's all about. Or perhaps you don't fit into any of those categories and you just happen to tune in. Either way, welcome. Welcome to On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. Wow. Before we get going here, I just want to say, it was a tough weekend watching basketball. We all know it's March Madness and my brackets are busted, but I have to say, wow, some really good basketball. Men's and women's tournament going on, but the men's games, unbelievable. Crazy games going on. So entertaining basketball, but a little depressed about my brackets. So just saying, just want to put it out there where my head's at going into this show. But we have a terrific show, and I can't wait to bring on our guests today. So really good stuff, I think, coming up. As you know, we are part of an amazing media company called Daily Parks and Rec Show, or DPRS Media. And it exists to honor those parks and recreation professionals, celebrating those real pros out there doing the essential work in our communities, and that includes our military communities. Before we get going, as usual, I want to throw a shout out to Jovi, our producer. She is doing an awesome job keeping us all together, working on the transitions, everything that happens, trying to make us look good, and that can be a chore to make me look good for sure. So, Jovi, thank you in advance. I also want to thank our founder of DPRS Media, Craig LeBlanc, and the many podcast shows that he not only puts on, but hosts many himself. He's really making an impact in the parks and rec industry. And I think he's been at it for almost a year and a half now. So awesome stuff. I really want to thank him for allowing us the opportunity to host this weekly podcast focused solely on military recreation and the great work that is being done out there around the world. Okay, today's show sponsor is Outdoor Link. I would like to give a shout out to Outdoor Link as well. They have been one of the early supporters of DPRS Media. If you want to turn on your entire city on and off with the swipe of a finger on an app, this is what Outdoor Link does. Outdoor Link builds smart cities connecting parks with their lights, park lights, splash pads, fountains, scoreboards, bathroom door locks, or anything really that is powered by electricity into a simple app on your phone, tablet, or desktop that can be controlled from any location 24/7, 365 days a year. If you want to learn more about Outdoor Link, tune in to the Smart Park Future Show, which is on the second and fourth Mondays each month at 1:30 Eastern Time on the DPRS network. Really good stuff happening, and that's actually a pretty good show. I just watched it the other day. Um, we're also going to see a quick promo on JDP Services Management Consulting. That's something near and dear to my heart as well. So, Jovi, why don't you take it away?
JDP Services Management Consulting, supporting parks and recreation and the essential service they provide. Communities benefit greatly from having dedicated advocates who champion the value of play in open spaces. Such advocacy ensures that recreational areas are prioritized and managed in ways that enhance the overall quality of life for everyone. We are dedicated to fortifying public park and recreation agencies and other related organizations by taking a practical, engaged approach to consulting and training, addressing immediate needs while equipping clients with lasting insight and tools to strengthen their organizations for long-term success. JDP Services, Management Consulting, meeting needs and exceeding expectations.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Update digital displays in real time. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. And even run community or sponsorship campaigns on digital screens. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
All right, we are back. And as usual, we are going to highlight a couple programs from around the world with MWR. Again, we work with the Armed Forces Recreation Network of NRPA, and through their social media platforms, there's an amazing amount of content that gets posted to these social platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook being the more popular one, but we see events from around the world that are happening pre, post, and sometimes even live feeds from events on these social networks. So one, we're going to encourage you to join if you're kind of in the business or are interested. But Jovi, why don't we bring up the PowerPoint? We're going to talk about the ones here today. And again, this is just a smattering of ones that get posted each week. We have probably somewhere in the area of about 150 posts or reposts happening on these social platforms each month. So we're really seeing quite a few. And I think last count it was 45 or almost 50 different agencies that represented those 150 posts. So we're seeing it from a lot of different bases, a lot of different services. So really good stuff. This first one today, March 24th, is Boss Day Proclamation. So officially from the city of Augusta, Georgia, they just did a presentation. This was just posted here this morning. The mayor presenting a proclamation for Boss Day. And if you don't know what Boss is, if you're not in the business, especially the Army, better opportunities for single service members is what it stands for. And not only programming, but they go out and do so many cool things out in the community. There's no doubt that the city of Augusta appreciates their effort, and they recognize through this proclamation that March 24th was Boss Day, and that's coming from Fort Gordon, their hometown base. So, anyways, really cool stuff. I saw it pop up this morning. I go, I got to get it on the slide. I got to get it on there. So had to do a little editing this morning, and we went from there. So congrats to those guys. That's pretty good recognition. Um, from Navy Region Southeast, and a little teaser for today's guest as well. But I happen to see this post come up from two of the bases. I'm sure my guess is all the bases in Southeast are going to run this. Who knows? This might be a promo going on across the Navy, but really for the teen program that focus on ages 13 to 18, really important. Almost an at-risk age group in there. You need to do more things for them, and here they were promoting through their Navy CYP program, but I know they connect with some of the MWR elements on base too to make sure those teams are taken care of. But I love the promo, I love the ad, the creativity with it, and so wanted to share that here today as well. Okay, we got a couple things coming from Joint Base Lewis McChord, JBLM, as they're familiar with, if you ever see them, doing great things. This was a family bingo event that was just awesome, and these pictures are again just a few of what was posted online. But really cool event. Looks like they did bingo for prizes, and the family, everybody was out and they were having a good time. Again, this picture down here with the tables and the people sitting was merely about probably a quarter of the room that they were in, and it was filled with people just having fun, doing some cool things. You can see somebody that's pretty happy with their prize up in the corner there. So good stuff from JBLM. Um, we also want to share. We get random posts on these social media stuff, and sometimes, here it is from Naval Station Great Lakes. They post about their recreational vehicle lots, and another one from Fort Riley where they had some retail gear that hit their, I believe, their outdoor recreation area, and they're selling retail. So we forget that not everything we get is absolutely free, and we do need to generate money through food and beverage and through some of our category C or commercial business lines. So it's always good to see that people are out there looking for it. Our storage lots do well across the enterprise for all the services. Really cool stuff. It's a great offering. Matter of fact, I just had a discussion with a Parks and Rec colleague saying, hey, if you've got vacant land and nobody's doing these kind of lots, you don't have commercial business, it's worth investigating, especially if you had the open land to get something established, to have a storage lot. Not a huge investment in there. And I think they're, for military, I think it's somewhere $47 a month for a space. That ends up generating a pretty good chunk of change, especially if maybe have 100, 150 spots, even if it was less. It's a good generator. And retail is always fun, especially for the military who are traveling around to different locations. They like to collect various things and retail items. And if you can keep them warm, comfortable, and looking good, and geared up and make a few bucks on it, that all gets plowed back into the program and more free programs and better facilities. So that's always good. So like to highlight those things. And again, Fort Riley and Great Lakes for sharing that via their social media posts. And again, here we go. Joint Base Lewis McChord, JBLM. Once again, they have Junior Explorers Club. Very cool program. This is not only taking the kids out. A parent or an adult is with each one, and they do some fun activities, whether they're going to the beach or going into the mountains. Just really cool stuff. And then they had this little promotion via the Gary Sinise Foundation, where they were doing these hamburgers out there. So I happened to be hungry when I saw this, so it made the slide, and just happened to be from JBLM again. And then, as I was saying, Armed Forces Recreation Network. We're not officially a part of that, but we have a friendly relationship, and I'm actively involved myself. So is our guest today in the Armed Forces Recreation Network. So we want to promote and get more people in there. So if you're at all in the recreation business of some kind, you can easily get associated with not only the Facebook in the middle, which is the more active site, and then also LinkedIn. But that's growing as well. Membership's growing, and more posts are growing there. And then on the far left is the monthly meeting, which always happens on the second Wednesday of the month. So the second Wednesday of April will be the next month. And Armed Forces Recreation Leadership Group is doing awesome stuff. So, anyways, shameless plugs for them. But through NRPA, we're all connected anyway, so it just makes sense. You can take that back down, Jovi. All right, let's bring up our guest here today. Surprise, surprise. Who is it? All right. All right, Katie Prestesater from Whiting Field in Milton, Florida. She is the Installation Program Director for MWR, and she has CYP, Child and Youth Program Oversight, on her base. So she's doing a lot of things. So how is it? How's the weather today on the panhandle of Florida?
75 and delightful. So,
Well, for Chicago or southeastern Wisconsin, it's about 40 degrees cooler. But we're heading in the right direction. No snow on the ground.
we have nothing but sunshine for the next week at about 80 in the afternoon and 55 in the morning. So,
Yeah. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on. I know we've been talking about making this happen, and I'm glad it worked out in your schedule. You were off last week before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show. You had a little fun trip to Disney, I heard.
yeah, went to the Mouse House. Probably my best trip yet on the planning. But the question that I think I asked most cast members was, how do you tell people to have a magical time? And it's something that we've been doing the last couple trips, is pick one or two things that are your priorities and then plan around that, and everything else is magic. And it was like, even through the crowds of spring break, we've been at Christmas, so nothing seems crowded comparative to that. But especially for MWR people, we talk about that upsell of the ticket, and how do you talk to your people who've never been. And I would tell everybody, if you're only going once, you're not going to get it all done. It's okay. So find the things that will make it magical for you. So for us, it was characters and shows. So we met all the characters, and we went to every show. And just every photo with my daughter was, and we had a great time, my husband and I. And so it's nice to be back, fully energized, bucket filled, and ready to take on the next couple months of budget season and everything else.
Yeah, 'tis the season, springtime, and budgets and all sorts of good stuff happening. But glad you're back. Glad you had a good time at Disney. It's an awesome experience for sure, and I'm sure your daughter loved it. Made memories, right? Isn't that what MWR does? Makes memories.
That's what we do, making memories.
So does Disney.
Yeah. But get your tickets through MWR, because you save on those taxes, and we have that great military rate.
Yeah. Well, we first met And when you came to do your internship at Naval Station Great Lakes, and
I
that
did.
was I'm not going to date either one of us, but
No,
many
I
many moons ago.
John, I was thinking about it today because, man, the weather's really nice, and we were talking about this yesterday, and it is 18 years to the month that we met
Wow,
on the phone and you interviewed me. 18 years
wow.
to the month, and I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. So, just to say the longevity of our careers, but also full circle moment for me that we're doing this 18 years later, and
I
when
don't
I
even I
was
don't even
interviewed, I had
I
no
don't
idea.
even I don't even think podcasts were a thing 18 years ago.
No, I think we were still using the Nokia phones. Like, I think Nokia phones were, I think you could still play Snake. So,
I have discussions with some of my colleagues who are, more either retired or approaching that age, and we started pre-internet, which is kind of unbelievable for some people. Some people don't. What do you mean? There was a pre-internet?
there was a pre-internet. You had to go
Internet's
hand
been
out
here.
flyers. You didn't text
Exactly.
your patrons.
Exactly. So tell us about your journey, because you've had a really interesting journey through MWR. Yes, at Great Lakes, but how'd you get there? How did you get to your position right now? Because you've got a lot of responsibility going on, and
Yeah.
so yeah, tell us about that.
Um, well, let's start with, I talk about all things that I bumped into a lot of walls, and I fell down a lot.
Mhm.
And so at my first university, I failed a class, and my dad was a guidance counselor and my mom's a fifth grade teacher. We don't fail education. And my dad goes, "What's up?" And I said, I know what I want to do in this life. I want to travel. And he goes, "Well, go Google travel degree." So I did, and ended up at Mizzou, luckily for the rest of my educational journey through my bachelor's program, which has the oldest accredited Parks and Rec program. So
They have a great program. Yep.
it gets really small circle, small town, because Dr. Vaught, his mom went to my church. So like I would go to school, I would go to class, and Dr. Vaught would be like, "Mom said you sang at the church today." I was like, "Oh my gosh." So good to be noticed by a professor early on. So then came down to needed to start finding internships and jobs, and there was a panel in one of my classes, and they said the craziest, most fun people are MWR, and I raised my hand. I said, "That's me, that's me." And so started looking and trying to figure out what this was, and the internship program was kind of moving in different directions at the time. And so I
Yeah.
applied with you guys, and you all interviewed me while I was in a Target as the national president of my youth organization at the time, getting ready for an event that night. I said, "Well, got to do it now." So I was in Target, and you all interviewed me. And so May of 2008, you picked me up as an intern. And that was kind of the start. I stayed with you. You guys were so great to me too, because my project was the Ultimate Command Challenge, and taking that over from Lisa. And you guys were so great. You said, "Just stay the extra 3 months to get it done." And then as that finished, so let's all remember 2008, that would have been October, boom, economy tanks, and trying to figure out what that looked like. And then I got picked up to be the Liberty manager out in Lemoore, California. So just south of Fresno, in the middle of nowhere. When we moved, my dad goes, "Do you have a job?" I mean, it was as like the fog was sitting on top, like you couldn't see anything. You could
Yeah.
barely see the red light, the smells of cow and jet fuel and cheese. Met amazing friends there, really kind of figured out who I was. Then my intern buddy, Jason, he actually was at Monterey, and he said, "Hey, there's a job over here if you want to come." So I went over, met with the team, interviewed, applied, did that, and they picked me up. And at that point, I was meeting my husband, like we were kind of dating ish, and he was at Liberty in San Diego. And we made a deal. Whoever had the best deal in a year, we would move to there. So if nothing changed, he was going to come up to Monterey.
There you
And then
go.
he got a job in Gitmo, and so Guantanamo Bay. And so he went on his orders, and then right before he left, he proposed. So hey, and then I went on my way, started applying for jobs and got my own job. We did not tell anybody that we were engaged. So I had my own orders, and we were down in Guantanamo for 6 years. And that was really cool. We did so much, and talk about on the front line. It's one of the 3 places that you can get the civilian defense medal. And so we presented that during kind of a crazy time. And that was really, really.
Yeah, they and at that time they had already established the prison that they set up after 9/11 to whatever for their that was a hopping place and a very secure place based on the prison. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
was,
wow.
talking about doing, so I was the Liberty manager down there. So I had 4 Liberty centers in different locations that were all accessible to any type of military person, right? Because you have Marines and Army, and depending on where they were. And that was such a great opportunity to really serve and learn. And that team was amazing to grow with. And so promoted through there. And then we had got married, we had a kid, and actually I interviewed for the operations director, so the kind of the deputy position. We don't use the word deputy, but the deputy position here at Whiting with Tom Kubileski. And you just interviewed him, and I interviewed during a hurricane. So like the first wall of the water's coming, and I interview, and then that hurricane hit Whiting. So that it took a little bit to get the job offer, but they offered me the job, and moved up here for 6 years and worked for Tom Kubileski, which is a gift. If you ever have the opportunity to work with Tom, he knows so much, and his insight and knowledge. You guys both together, you need to write a book. Write it all down for us. Write the MWR Bible.
Funny story. I mean, obviously, you might have seen it already. We had an episode with Tom and Tom Jr.
Yeah.
So father, son in the business, so to speak. It's fun. But no, Tom Sr., who I know very well, perfect mentor. He's doing great things with the accreditation program with Navy MWR. Just a great guy in general. So, you get to start to meet more and more people. So you're starting to connect yourself with all your duty stations with these different types of people, different leadership styles.
Yep.
And that's kind of how you build yourself. You take a bit here, a bit there. I don't like that. I love that, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're getting to experience a lot of interesting people who have a lot to offer, and kind of find your leadership style as well.
Yeah. And I think what was really neat through all of this, so then 6 years in Gitmo, promote, great opportunities. Or 6 years here at Whiting, excuse me. So now we're at Whiting, 6 years here at Whiting.
And you worked with Tara Culbertson at Gitmo, right?
At Gitmo, yeah.
Yeah, she's another good one.
We'll talk about her a little bit later as we talk about that leadership philosophy. She kind of comes into to play with it a little bit, of something she said that resonated with what resonated with how I lead my team. But then I was able to take an opportunity up at Everett as their installation in 9. So oversight of all the quality of life programs, but not of the support services. So, what's interesting with the Navy is you're going to different installations with different job opportunities. So I had housing and fleet and family and MWR and CYP, but the support services were over at the region. So they were genuinely like a support to the installation. So worked with Todd Benson as my N9. Captain Menzel was my CO. I learned a lot from him of just far as like, this is what it means. Cause that's a destroyer base. So the pressures of that type of work and how to support those folks as best as we can. Took some cool nuggets from them. And that was a great team. I love my Everett team. I've loved every team I've had. Like every team that I have worked with, I have such fond memories of in different ways. And they were all parts of different chapters, which is super interesting. And then Tom Kubileski got the accreditation job, and couple calls later and an interview again during the flu. Like the flu has become kind of a prominent thing in my life, but I had the flu as I get all these calls to say, hey, Tom's leaving. And I said, well, I'll interview and apply, but lots of people applied. And so it wasn't guaranteed or anything. And I said, well, let me put my name in the hat. I'll do it. And they picked me, and I came back 365 days later across the country. The Husky is still very mad about it. And now I've been here for 3 years and leading an amazing team. We're doing some really cool stuff that just small, we'll talk about it. What Whiting does, we're so small that we have to be really creative on how we resource things and what we do. And the team is just really kind of jumped on this energy, and I'm so proud of them. So that's where we're at. So from a failed class, I now am here sitting with you.
Nice. It was that time in church where you could pray and your grades got much better after that. Right? No, but kudos to you and your team after you came back. And I know you previously, and Tom was putting in, and he was a finalist a number of times for the gold medal. But your team in 2024 won the national gold medal from the American Academy for Parks and Recreation Administration, and under the Armed Forces category. So congratulations, your team.
That was
awesome.
I was in Guam when we that. So so part of the career part, right? I get to take 2 months in Guam and work under the admiral, directly under the admiral there. That was really interesting and really good work. And it was midnight, and my phone is just blowing up. And I'm like, we won. I got to go back to bed. So then I'm at a meeting the next day. I look exhausted because the phone kept blowing up. And I'm trying to explain it to regional folks who maybe not have been exposed as much to the program. And I was like, we just won this big award. And I'm just floating on cloud nine. And it was so cool because 2 of our key team members got to go and receive the award.
Kathleen and who was
Sean.
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 Yeah.
So Sean's
I remember that night they won. So we were sitting and we have we had the big reception the night before. We had a couple laughs the night before, but they had won, and we had seen them carrying. Kathleen was carrying around, and to the point where I don't think she could carry it around anymore. And then Sean was carrying this big. It's huge plaque, and it's heavy. And they're carrying around. It's like, put a chain around it. It'll be like, Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
It was great. But I was so happy of it. I didn't know. I remember going out there, and I did not realize you were out in Guam doing the temporary assignment. So when I saw Kathleen, I'm like, where's Katie? Oh, she's out in Guam. I'm like, this is the year. I'm pretty sure. Not that I knew. I was pretty confident you guys are going to get it. So awesome.
It was so cool. And I'm so proud of the team. And it's nice to not have that pressure to apply again for a little bit. Just kind of be, okay, let's reset and start doing, looking at how we're going to tailor with our changes over the next 5 years. But what's cool about those awards, and I think you understand this the most, is it's not about the award itself. It's so much of what it represents for the team. And then being able to celebrate them in so many different ways that year was, it was cool. Because when I got back, essentially I had one job, which was to plan the team party. And we just really did it up, and you came and presented, and it was our skipper's first time seeing, like he had been on for like 4 months. And so he was seeing what we were doing as a team just for each other. And it really meant a lot to people. And I think they really got the why, and it shows the why. You can see it when you're with your customers and your guests, when they're having a good day or they're making progress on a plan. But to have that recognition of like, no, somebody else sees you doing it, it really helps to one helpful motivational tool.
Yeah, awesome. We're going to talk a little bit more about Whiting when we come back. We're going to do a spot here, and then we're going to also talk about building resilient teams and leadership styles when we get back, and a few other fun things. So, Jovi, take it away, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to DPRS Media Network, the voice of Parks and Recreation professionals. where leadership grows, facilities thrive, and communities connect. Leadership Series: Insights from the leaders shaping our industry. Facility Maintenance: the backbone of safe and sustainable spaces. Young Professionals Network: empowering the next generation of parks and rec leaders. The Rec Room: real conversations, real stories, real impact. Youth Sports Mastery: elevating the game for athletes and communities. Smart Parks Forward: innovation driving the future of recreation. On the Frontline: honoring those who serve our communities every day. Athletes Commute: the journey behind the performance. The Aquatics Life: everything aquatics, safety, staffing, sustainability. Safe Spaces and Green Spaces: a show exploring the connection between nature and mental well-being. And we don't just tell the stories, we show up where it happens. From local gatherings to national parks and recreation conferences, DPRS Media Network is on the ground, capturing conversations, highlighting innovation, and amplifying the voices shaping our industry's future. DPRS Media Network: connecting parks, empowering people, inspiring communities. Not every job happens behind a desk. Some happen where decisions are made in seconds, where pressure is real, and where people show up no matter what. This is the Frontline. It's where service meets reality, where responsibility isn't optional, and where impact is measured in people, not headlines. We follow the men and women who stand first to respond, first to protect, first to act when it matters most. They don't do it for recognition. They do it because someone has to. On this show, we go where the work happens, beyond the uniforms, beyond the titles, beyond the noise. We hear the stories, the challenges, the moments that test them, and the purpose that keeps them going. Welcome to On the Frontline, the Military Rec Show. Real people, real pressure, real service. This is where it begins. Stories from the front.
All right, we are back. I hadn't seen that promo for
That's
On the
really
Frontline.
I feel like we got to really hold up to that to that intro now.
We will.
I was going to put on some mouse ears, but because I'm still in the mood. But I'll save that for a different time. Here we are.
Sounds
No, it's
good.
okay.
Sounds good. So we know you won the gold medal in 2024. Since 2024, and tell us a little bit quickly about the mission of what Naval Air Station Whiting Field does, and then some of the cool things you're doing right now with your programs, and then we'll get in some other things down the line.
Yeah, so Whiting Field is a warfighting training base. So we train aviators. 60% of all that you can tell I do this on a regular. 60% of all aviators get into their first airplane at Whiting Field, and 100% of helo pilots will get their wings of gold, which means they're unrestricted aviators. And from there, they go to their next platform. So what are they really joining? And it's a really cool mission. It's busy. We run more air operations than Hartsfield, Atlanta. So we're on the go, on the go all the time. And so Whiting Field does two things. One, we support that mission. And two, we support the families that are doing that mission. And so if you're training and you're a student, your head is in the books, and our job is to take care of you and your family. And if you're an IP, which is an instructor pilot, same thing. And then all the support people and all the support service members who support the warfighter, that's what we do. And so Whiting Field, little base, big mission. And we have one of the largest bases by land size. We have 12 outlying fields. So they take off every day from Whiting and go land at an outlying field. And so one of the cool things that we do is we do tailored services as an MWR program. So our junior sailors are mainly out at those outlying fields. So once a month, we take the van, load that van up, and we go see them, see what they need. Sometimes it's more of just, hey, just checking in. And other times we'll bring cooking competitions or video game competitions. We've brought out our library program. They're allowed to study out there. So we really make sure that they understand all the resources that they have through the Navy Digital Library. And then, of course, we put on amazing family programs. So we'll talk a lot about that. But we're known, we've kind of, our signature events are our family programs.
Yeah.
And then our fitness facility is a product of a hurricane many moons ago. And so the things that we've been able to do are pretty much all through self-help, or we had a couple fires. So we were able to get a new basketball court. That was big day. We kept saying, guys, we need a new basketball court. It literally has dead spots everywhere. And down to it might as well be an ice rink at this point.
And magically it burned up.
Practically caught fire. So
now I'm sorry, that sounds a lot like night ops.
Yeah, right. No. I am so glad it wasn't, because I would hate to be in jail right now. But no, there was an accidental light bulb. The wrong light bulb was put in. So whether it was supposed to be energy or not energy, I can't remember, but they put the wrong light bulb in. So it just was just sprinkling fire. And it was really funny because it was the first fire happened. Tom went to Italy was this Gitmo or Italy? I can't remember. Tom went on 2 trips. One was to Gitmo, one was to Italy. And both of them, the first day he was gone, there was like an actual 911 emergency. And I was like, yeah, that tracks. That tracks. That always happens to the deputy. I do not care what you say. The number 2 at any installation is the hardest working person, because they are the filter for the staff. And then when the director goes away, it literally catches on fire. So
that's crazy. So yeah, never fails.
And then we have a really great library program that I'm really excited about serving families. We have a cool dog park, Wiggly Field, if you will. It really is called Wiggly Field. You've seen it.
I've seen it. The sign looks like the famous Cubs scoreboard, and yeah, it's really cool. Best name of any dog park ever.
I struggle with that. I mean, it's clever. Am I going to call it the best name? But what are you going to do with the Cardinals, right? Like Buddy Weiser Station? No, there's nothing you can do. So, and then in addition, we celebrate outdoor recreation. So we have our jewel of our base, which is our Whiting Park recreational area with boats and kayaks and a playground and pavilions. So we are heading into busy season with aquatics and outdoor rec and everything, as most parks and rec programs do. They gear up and we're right there with everybody else.
What's your biggest Cat C, category C, for those listening out there, really our commercial for-profit type programs that we run? So what generates revenue for you?
Well, okay, so net is going to be Southfield Snack Bar, with 10% of sales being bacon. So that snack bar is actually located within the hangar, and we sell breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The staff is amazing. They're just cooking it up, and they're so good at cultivating relationships, which, it's so funny to think about. But when the wingers are getting ready to graduate, they bring their families to our different food ops, and they say, and they introduce their family to our food workers and to our team. And I think that's so just typical of what we do. Like, I'm so proud that our staff meets aunts and uncles and cousins, because it does feel like a team that supports families from life cycle.
Speaking of that, and we do need to move along, but food transformation, big stuff happening across. Are you doing any of that integration with galleys or whatever? You do your thing, galley support?
Right. So not at Whiting Field. We do, most of our population is officers. So we've got about 200 junior sailors. So it'll be interesting to see how the food transformation works, because I think we will get fed into it because we have the Starbucks and the Uptown and what they're doing with the internal brands. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm watching it up at the Northwest. Our colleague Bunny is working on it right now, and with Paul and Russ. So to see what they're going to be doing at Kitsap, piloting it, and I think it'll be interesting to give people more options. We've talked about that for years, and how we go through this. We're going to see, I think, a couple different iterations of this, but it's really neat to see. But that will not be something we pilot. We'll pilot something fitness probably.
Yeah. Well, Air Force has done it in the past, and Army's doing it, and obviously Navy's well into it. We'll see. Somebody's going to find the perfect model that we'll be able to roll out. So that's cool. So that's great. Whiting doing amazing stuff. Not only gold medal, but you've carried it on. I love the way you're kind of at a training base, so you're bringing recreation to the folks that need it, and being mobile. And I think that's sometimes that differs us a little bit from the park and rec world, where they're a little more fixed to their programs, and we can pick up and be mobile as necessary to support the mission. Needed. Yep. So, again, you've got a big team. You have oversight of CYP. You won the gold medal. How do you maintain that excellence with your team? What's the secret sauce in leadership and managing that? That's easy. It's easy to say. It's harder to do.
It's harder to do.
How does that work? How do you keep your team resilient?
I will tell you that it definitely, I struggle to talk about it, because I'm always thinking about every time I've failed, but I think that's part of it. So it's twofold. One, our team believes in transparency. So it's something that I've started. I started many moons ago. Is actually at Whiting, my first go around, and I had five standards that I expected utilizing our other programs, and the last one was transparency. And I call it the Ringo Starr rule. And the reason I call it the Ringo Starr rule is Ringo Starr was the last to be inducted to the Hall of Fame, and he says, a lot of people ask me how we lived in the van, and we owned our Fox, and says it just like that on the microphone. And I looked at Steven, I was like, that's it. Raise your hand. It was me. And during that same time, I was kind of going through some job transition, trying to figure out where my career was going. And Tara was like, stop, take off your cloak of awkwardness. Stop being weird about it. And so finally I was able to say the thing out loud. And what has led to that is that couple things. People are now when you come to work, you feel safe at work. If you are having a bad day because of XYZ, we want you to tell us. You don't have to tell us your blood type, but you can say, hey, I've had a really rough day, got some stuff going on. Got it. Cool. How can we support you? And you create a mechanism of support so people feel safe. And then when you have a safe workplace, people feel empowered. And I think that's kind of the next part of the juice is when I look at I was just talking to my operations director about this, Mike. He's brilliant. And we were just saying we would not take any other team as it was, because every team member has a crazy, unique strength. And with that strength, obviously comes some opportunities that we might need to grow, but where that growth opportunity lies, somebody else has that strength. And so we just own each person owns what they bring to the table. And then we utilize that power of strength and tools within a safe environment to say yes. Improv actors talk about it all the time, say yes. And so we really try to say yes because it's safe too. So I think that's it. I will tell you, over the last couple of years, it's been harder on me as a leader because normally I know what's going to happen and I could say, this is it. And with so many changes coming, sometimes it's hard as a leader to be resilient. But in those moments where I was struggling, the team was doing exactly that. Yeah. So they were leaning in, and then I can't even remember. I remember coming home and we had just a really great day. And I told my husband, I was like, man, today was a really great day. This is why I do what I do. And he goes, yep. and talked to another colleague of ours, Tom Timmons, and we were talking about, again, career stuff. And he goes, I was telling him about a program that went really well. And he goes, but you love the programs. And I was like, I do. I just live for it, because the team comes together and we're using a shoestring budget. So we use paper clips and shoestring, and then we create giant sets of magic and doing things that we have to do and create from scratch.
No matter where you are in your career, I mean, for most of us who got into the business because we were recreators, whatever your first job or two was, I think even if you move up the food chain, you do live for those events. We all gravitate back when we can try to get involved with a recreational program, especially the special events, because you see that gratitude from our customer base, and that's what linked me to the career. I was there for 16 weeks at Great Lakes. I was out of Dodge, and they got me to stay for 34 years because I saw the impact we were having on those young sailors
Yeah.
coming through boot camp. So it's neat the way we all graduate towards that. Let me talk about transparency, and I think that's great. You created kind of the safe space that people can communicate and go from there. But as a leader, sometimes you need to you want to be as transparent as possible, but sometimes there's some information you can't leak, but everybody around you kind of knows something's going on, so you got to balance what you're saying. Own it, own the fact that everybody knows something's going on, but you can't give all the details. So how do you
Yeah.
have you run into that, or is
Yeah, I think we've run into it a couple times over the last couple years. And, you know, change management 101 though is tell everybody what the change is and as much as you can. And so instead of being afraid of the information I can't share, I lean into the information I can, because I give the opportunity to say, what questions do you have about what information I can provide, so that I can go back and get that information to help you through this change. Where I see us going, when I see change management failing epically, is it's either dropped, you will do it, you will not ask questions, you will not get any input. Yeah. And it creates a dissonance that is unnecessary. The
yeah,
change is already going to be hard. Change is hard. I mean, I really live for change. How many times I tell you I moved, I live for it, but it's still hard. And so allowing people to ask the questions, and that gives you an opportunity as a leader to succeed, because you're saying, I can't give you everything, but here's what I got. What questions do you have about what I've got to give you? And that
yeah,
will help me go back and get more information and ask the question that I didn't think I needed to ask.
yeah.
So I think even with the kind of some of the more, higher level stuff, there's still ways to share it in a way that, even just recognizing the elephant in the room, that happened at one point last year where we were like, we don't know what's happening. And we just said, all right, guys, here's the elephant. And we said it out loud, and we said, okay, well, we don't know what we're doing right now with this information, so keep going. And I think it rallied us too, of being like, well, none of us knows what's going on. And so we're just going to lean into that. And, you can kind of be a more cohesive team because, everybody knows the same thing.
Yeah, it's simple things too. I know we were just sharing. We put a CO's kind of placemat, as we called it, together each week, which was information being brought up from the branch managers, but just making it available. Hey, managers, here's the final product. This is what we turned into the front office. There's no trade secrets in here. This is stuff we're doing, and make it available to your employees. Now, not everybody had a computer, so whether you printed it off, everybody had access to that placemat. Um, you know, isn't going to be 20% of the part-time staff that is even going to look at that or care, but
Right.
it's there, it's available, it's showing that transparency. You're not hiding behind anything, and go from there. And it's easy. It's not a special product you're making. You're just sharing a product. Now, if there's some sensitive information, you redact pieces of it out or whatever. But for the most part, it never was. So
Yeah. I think in
That's
our business, there's only been a couple times, when we're talking about the sensitive stuff, and even then you can share enough to get people prepped for what's
yeah,
coming, and
yeah,
I think that's all that matters. So, I think when we're talking about it, and that comes to the front line too, because then you manage by walking around, right? You know where that came from, but manage by walking around and allowing people to ask the questions and just saying, yeah, sure, I'll let you ask the
yeah,
question. And then it also gives you an opportunity to create opportunities for shaping and growing and saying, hey, this was a really good idea. I would maybe communicate it this way next time, just to help you get your message across better. So
yeah.
there's so many ways to yes. But Amy Poehler's book, Yes, Please, read it. It talks about this. This is like, again, this is one of those things too. Like there's so many ways to look at this from different perspectives.
You're the second person in less than 3 weeks that told me to read that book. So now I need to read
You
that.
haven't read it?
I have not. I've heard so many times. I've wanted to pick it up and I haven't. So
Hold on. I need
it's
to
on my
ask a
list.
couple of questions right now. Everybody stop the podcast. Have you watched Parks and Rec, the
Yeah,
show? Okay.
yes.
I mean, that's like
Absolutely.
cool. And then have you watched her podcast?
I have seen a couple episodes of the podcast.
Okay.
It's very good.
She
Yeah.
does a good job. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, we're not plugging anybody, but when we talk about improv, and yes, she brings it up in her podcast too. So very cool.
Yeah. Awesome. I have to take a look at it. One last question on management. You deal with MWR,
Mhm.
unique group in itself, its
Yeah.
own funding, and then you've got CYP oversight as well, and that's a whole nother world. Um, what do you do to try to bring those two teams together, or do you really kind of let them stay aside because there's not as much mix as you want? How do you handle that?
Yeah. So small team. So we ask everybody to support our events. So Christmas is all hands on deck. So we do a big Santa fly-in. I have dreams, John, that it's
I've
going to be
seen pictures of this.
I have dreams that Santa is going to come in with a like a flying V situation, and then in each helo, so like Grinch will come bank down, and then Mrs. Claus banks down, and then Santa makes. I have dreams. The wing will kill me for having these dreams. Every time I'm going, okay, Santa, fly it, guys. There's always a couple pilots. They're like, yeah, let's do this. And there's a couple pilots. They're like, MWR wants to fly in Santa, and we lean into both energies. But we're all hands on deck. And then when we do our celebration events, we do that together. Because we have a CDC, which is all the time full. We're at 100% capacity with a wait list. Yeah. They don't get to play as much in the sandbox as I think we'd like, but for the special events, we bring them together. And that's always fun to see because last year we had our Easter event and they were all competing on our customer service satisfaction survey to see who got the most mentions. So on those special events where we can bring them together, we do. And it's great. People buy in, they get it. And also just recognizing the team. So what I'll do is when the team at CYP team's training, I make sure to go spend some time with them, let them know what's going on, answer questions. And then again, I stop by there probably 3 times a week just to check on people, say hi, get to know the kids. And then it also helps us. So if we have maybe a kid with some challengers or something, I can go back to the MWR and say, hey, we got like a thing. What do you think we have over here? And connecting resources. And so really we look at it as a resource connection more than anything.
Yeah. But they are unique teams, so it's always a challenge. I just wanted to see how you were handling it because it's you manage equally, but you don't necessarily do it exactly the same because they are 2 different organizations.
2 different organizations. Yeah. But I also think that we're one big team, one big fight. So let's do it together, understanding each other.
Yeah, we'll fall under the mission. It's kind of the whole N9 quality of life umbrella. I mean, a lot of stovepipes, but at some point we all serve the same mission. So yeah. Okay. Craziest thing. We only got a couple minutes left. So craziest professional experience that you've had.
So I've got 2. One's really quick. They're both actually very quick. So the first one, I was going to tell you. So as an intern for you, Billy Bob Thornton proposed to me because he's also a St. Louis Cardinals fan. I forgot to tell you this part. So I was their handler for the day. It was Billy Bob Thornton and the Boxmasters, right? And I was driving him around, and we were talking about Cardinals baseball because he's from Arkansas, I'm from Missouri, and he.
Let me hold it for the
Oh, yeah.
audience. Yes, Billy Bob Thornton has a band. I don't know if they still are performing.
Yeah.
I think I saw something a couple of years ago. But anyways, he literally came to our base via another association, and he was doing a concert. So he wasn't just acting; he was performing in a band.
Performing. Yep.
So,
So then we were talking sports, and he goes, I was quoting, I was just statting off some stuff, and he goes, Katie, I think I just fell in love with you. You want to go to Vegas and get married tonight? And I said, Billy, I've got to drive you around tonight. But that sounds really nice. Then he was so kind, and he goes, well, if I had known there was a Cardinals fan, I would have had you come have lunch with Tony La Russa and me. And I was like, what? No, you would not. That's okay. But thank you for thinking of me. And then I think it was Carpenter. It was either Carpenter or Edwards. One of them got injured that night. And so there's a photo of me like literally going like this to Billy, like just like looking at him during the autograph signature, being like, here's the score. Here's what's going on. He goes, I'll call Tony afterwards. And I said, that must be nice just to be able to pick up the phone and call Tony La Russa. So that's like my fun. Of course, I meet my husband and all that, and I love him so much. Love you, babe. And then my second one, I'm so proud of this, John, is, I have crazy big dreams of doing weird things. But when we knew we were going to get a new basketball court, I was like, we should do like a last splash for the basketball court, like you do for pools, where you let the dogs come in. I said,
this is after you burned it down?
After we burned it down. We said, well, so we let the kids go wild. And we literally had 200 kids fill our basketball court, and we just let them paint the basketball court. So we had paint angels and paint fights, and no one really knew what to expect. I said, I promise you all, this is going to be great. Skipper walks in, and he's like full uniform, shine shoes. I'm like, sir, you need to cover up. You've got to go to a meeting. But kids were just, we're talking just head to toe covered in paint. And it was one of the best things I've ever done as a recreator. It's a good recreator moment. And the team thought I was nuts for saying we need to do this. One of my favorite employees, you're not supposed to have a favorite employee. He doesn't work for me anymore. He actually works for Tommy too. And he goes, Katie, I really thought you were off your rocker on this one. I was like, I did not. I knew this was going to be good. But he's that was professionally paint the court. That was exciting. So. Billy Bob and court painting.
Nice. Well, Katie, it was really good to have you on here. I was so excited about this episode, and you're doing amazing things. Your team is doing amazing things, and you've got a big career ahead of you, I'm sure. So, and Mickey Mouse ears next. You need to have those on.
I do want to show you something because I don't think you believe me. So I make a resolution bingo every year, which I just like. So I treat myself for every time I do something. So like all my books, I'm going for a book a month right now. Run 4 5Ks. But what happens is once I do a thing, I give myself $5, and then if I get a full bingo, I give myself $50, and then I take my cash and treat myself at the end of the year. But
nice.
Look, record a podcast.
All right. I'm
going to give myself $5.
I get 10% of that, please.
Okay. That's all yours. Take my
Katie, thank you so much. It was a blast. We'll have to have you back on at some point again for sure. So anyways, that's it.
Thanks,
Katie. That's it today for On the Front Line. Thanks again to Katie for being here and sharing her amazing stories and journey in our profession. We'll be back next week, same time, same place for another great episode. So on behalf of DPRS Media and On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show, I'm John Prue, and we are out here.
It started with a shared purpose, a vision to bring people together, to inspire, to learn, and to lead. And at CPRS Conference 2026, that vision came to life. From every conversation to every connection made, this wasn't just an event, it was a community in motion. Ideas were challenged, perspectives were expanded, and leaders stepped forward, ready to shape the future of parks and recreation. At DPRS Media Network, we had the privilege of capturing it all. The passion, the innovation, the stories that deserve to be seen and heard. Because these moments don't just stay here, they ripple outward, into communities, into programs, into lives. To the organizers, the speakers, the partners, and every single attendee, thank you. For showing up, for sharing your voice, and for being part of something bigger than all of us. This is more than a conference. This is a movement. And DPRS Media Network will continue to tell your story every step of the way. We'll see you at the next one.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.